All right. Well, this is a rewind night. I messed up the recording on this last time that Billy did this demo, so we've asked Billy to come back so we could get this demo on our YouTube channel. So, without further ado, Mr. Billy Burt.
Can y'all hear me? Yes, because I can hear me. Well, first off, I'm wearing the wrong smock. I grabbed the wrong one out of the closet. Pretend this says that. and pretend it has my name on it, Billy Burt. Last time I was here, I demoed how I do modified slimlines. And I'm going to do that again, but we're going to do it a little bit different. One of them I'm going to do the same. The other one I'm going to do something a little bit different. And hopefully it'll turn out all right. Let me see that. This is one of those that I turned last time. And if you look up here where I pressed the clip in, you'll see where it split the wood. And the reason it did that is because when the blank was drilled, it didn't get drilled down to the brass. And so you have to be careful of that. If it doesn't get trimmed down to the brass and you push the pieces in, this is what you end up with. So be mindful of that. Yes. It's better to pull a little bit of the brass off than to leave it too long. Otherwise, you run into the risk of having that, and it'll do it on both ends. It'll do it down at the nib, and it'll do it up at the pin clip. I started turning in 2003. Started turning pins, and by 2005, I was doing production work, turning pins. I got burned out pretty quick. It took a few years. I was about 2000, end of 2007, middle of 2008. I didn't want to ever look at another pin in my life. But, but I still do a few for gifts and graduations and things of that nature for family. Now, today, I'm going to use this little device. It's called a mandrel saver. If you turn pins and you don't use one of these, I highly recommend it. I don't use one of these at home. I have these for my grandkids. I do not use a mandrel saver. I turn between centers. Turning between centers does two things. Well, it takes a little bit longer because you have to swap them out. But it actually gives you can produce a completely concentric pin on both ends every single time. Using a mandrel, especially the old style with the little brass knurl knob on here, you tighten and tighten and tighten, and then you bring this up, and to keep the blank from spinning, you continue to crank on this. It's not doing any good. It's the brass that does. But when you crank on that, pulling this at the end, these mandrels have a tendency to bow or flex. And it's very, very easy for you to get an eccentric turning. So it's not completely fully round. That's not what you want when you're turning a pin. You want something fully round. So how do I do it between centers? Well, I have two 60-degree centers. One is a drive center. It's just a drive center. It puts you Morse taper 2, and it doesn't do anything but spin, but it's shaped as 60 degrees. They use them in metal turning a lot. And the other one is, of course, the tailstock, 60 degree. I turn one barrel at a time. Now, how you do that, you ask? Without a mandrel. I'm glad you asked.
How do you do that?
Just throw stuff everywhere. Thank you, kind sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar. I promise I will not. I'll pass one of these around. They're both the same. These are not cheap to have made, but there's a member of IAP that sells them. This is 60-degree cone here in the middle, and this is machined to perfectly fit. Where do you want me? And this is machined to fit perfectly inside that brass tube. So I just put one in each end, put it between centers, and go. And this serves as my bushing as well.
And you can buy those from IAP?
You can get those from, I can't remember the guy's name. He's a member of IAP. Yeah, you just go ahead and do a search. Don doesn't do it. I didn't get mine from Don. Yes, you can get them from them too. Yes, sir.
And PSI makes them with the Morris tapers on them that are set to go just inside the bushings. So you already have the bushings, you just put them in your headstock, tailstock, and then slip your bushings on.
It's funny you should say that. I bought a 60-degree drill center. They use them in machine work. I bought a 60-degree drill center. They have a smaller bit at the front, and they get bigger at the back, kind of like it looks kind of like a drill sink or a countersink. Yeah. But those center drills are really, really good. And so what I've done is I took my bushings, standard bushings that we used to be like $5 for a set. Took standard bushing, put my drill center in my tailstock in a Jacobs chuck, and I machined just a little bit on my wood lathe, just a little bit of the back outside of that bushing, so that it's now 60 degrees, and I can put my standard bushings between centers and do the same thing. You don't have to use a drill center and do it. You can put regular standard bushings in between centers and achieve the same thing. Where this comes in really nice and handy is if you're doing a single barrel pen like the Sierras or the, I don't know, they've got so many names, the Wall Street. So it's really nice because you're doing single pens anyway. And I'd much rather turn one of those than a two-piece pen. I don't care if I ever turn another European. My favorite pen is a two-piece pen. It's a Berea kit. It's the perfect fit. If you haven't turned one, you can check it out. Arizona Silhouette sells them. Berea sells them because it's a Berea kit. And the cool thing about the perfect fit, it's a twist pen, but it takes Schmidt makes a pencil refill that fits into it perfectly. The perfect fit is called a convertible pen. And it's called that because it'll take that Schmidt refill and you click it one time and it extends the lead. So it's really pretty cool. Anyway, that's my favorite pen kit. They're quick and easy to turn. Today, just for simplicity's sake and to keep things as quick as possible, I'm going to use a mandrel saver. Something else that I like to do when I'm turning a pen, these aren't going to line up exactly, but they'll be close. When I do my pen blanks, I take a pencil or a marker, and yeah, get me over here, thanks. I'll take a pencil or a marker and I'll put a cabinet maker's triangle where I want the seam, where I'm going to cut it. So then I take it over my bandsaw and I cut it. Then I put them in I do all my drilling on the lathe. So then I chuck them up in my pen vise and I drill them. I've still got my cabinet maker's mark, so I know which end goes together and I know where the grain's going to match. After I get the tubes glued in, I rotate them this way and I'll take a felt pen or I just said it a minute ago. Sharpie. That's one. I'll take a Sharpie and I'll mark a couple of marks on the inside of that tube. That way, once I've turned the cabinet maker's triangle off, I can look in the tube and know which ends go together. That's just something that I like to do because I'm a perfectionist. I think the grain should match. If it doesn't match, it's not right. Again, that's just me being me. So, I'm going to do basically, like I said, the same thing I did last time, but we're going to do it a little bit different. This is the bottom. This will be the...
You told me one time that you turn the pin so that the tip is at the drive side. Did I hear you wrong?
I do it both ways, but I may have said that. In which case, this is the drive side, and that's the tip. No. You saw the pin that went around. I'll do that one last. I'm going to do a different one this time. It's still a modified Slimline, but I'm going to, instead of making the barrels the European style, where the top barrel is a little bit bigger in diameter at the bottom than the top of the bottom barrel. I'm going to make this one a little bit different. This is a piece of spalted pecan, and I'm not going to be using a center band because the center band for the Slimlines is way smaller than this pin's going to be. But what I am going to do is I'm going to make my own center band. Now, even doing this, you can warp this mandrel, even though it's sliding over it. Sir? Yes. Okay. Then I guess that's where I got mine. Okay, are we good to go? Now the first thing you got to have if you want to turn a pin is the appropriate tool. And I have found that the appropriate tool is nothing more than a spindle gouge. And what?
It's so small.
Well, it lets me do other things. Believe it or not, I am going to rough this using this. And I love this tool. If you haven't used one, I highly recommend it. Now, because of the nature of this spalted piece of wood in the middle, I'm going to start there. It's a little oversized, and I'm going to be very gentle. And the reason I'm being very gentle is because I don't want to split it and blow it all over the place, because then we won't have a center band. And I didn't bring a spare. Well, how big do you make these, Billy? How far down do you turn them? Well, it's, you just do it till it looks like a pen. Actually, it depends on your taste. How many haven't been turning pins very long? One of the things that I discovered years ago, by accident more than anything else, is when you get down here, because of the nature of the grain, even though it's running long grain this way, when you get down here to that bushing, sometimes coming this way, you'll bust that, you'll actually chip it out. So, to keep that from happening, I just use a rounded scraper. Present it as a negative rake. Get it down close. Don't take it all the way to the bushing yet. Just get it down close. And you're going to be less likely to blow that out when you start using your skew. Or if you don't want to use a skew, use this. Now I've got let's see, can he turn and talk at the same time? Not very well. I've got that just about the diameter I want. Boy, it likes cutting that other direction. It's not real happy this way. Focus, eyeballs. Wow. I went too fast. That's a modified Slimline.
So you don't ever glue these vaulted pecan? You just leave it?
I just leave it. What is that? Nasties, what that is. Pardon?
It doesn't have to be wider because the little bands that come with it are a lot thicker.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'll like the one you saw going around had no center band at all. They don't need a center band. That's just something to make them look prettier. I don't like them. But the reason I haven't turned a skinny Slimline in, oh gosh, almost 20 years. Because I hate them. I don't like skinny pins. I was given 2 sets of cross pins when I graduated college. I don't use them. They're too skinny. I don't like them. The refills aren't bad, but I don't like skinny pins. I like a pin with some meat on it. So that's what we have here. And we'll do a quick sand. I got 120, but I think I might be able to start at 220. Had I been slower and more deliberate with my skew, I could probably just start at 320, but yeah. You want the truth or you want me to lie to you?
I want you to be transparent. How's that?
Okay. My preferred finish is lacquer. Deft lacquer, to be exact. Or no, not for pins. I don't use spray on pins. I've got this piece of 2x6 or 2x10 that's got, I think 2x8. It's got 1/4 inch holes in it. And I bought a couple of lengths of 1/4 inch all thread. 1/4 inch all thread. And I took old slimline bushings if I'm doing a slimline pin, or I took a piece of Delrin, or you can use nylon, and made bushings the diameter of the bushings that I turned to. Or I'll use an old set of bushings that's a little bit thick. And what I do is I put these barrels on this 1/4 inch all thread. I got a nut down at the bottom, and I've got I've got a bushing, either an old one or one I made. And then I'll have something the same diameter as the middle in between. So I'll have something that diameter, and then I'll have another bushing the diameter of this down at the bottom. And what I do, I've got a gallon can of Deft lacquer, and I dip the pin after it's sanded. I dip it in Deft. I let it drain, and I have on IAP, I have a tutorial on how I do this. It's been out there for years. So I'll dip them. It's got a few pictures. So I dip them and I set them. 30 minutes later, I come back, I flip it, dip it, set it. 30 minutes later, flip it, dip it, set it. 30 minutes later, flip it, dip it, set it. 4 total coats. Let it drain off. Let it cure for, in this humidity we have here, 7 to 10 days. Buff it out. Some people like the Bill. I use Axe, believe it or not, I use Axe abrasive paste to buff out all my lacquer. Well, all my finishes. And it's never going to wear on you. Lacquer's probably the most durable finish you can get. A good lacquer. I've tried CA. I've not had good luck with CA. I turned a beautiful cherry burl pin, sold it. Guy ordered it specifically, and because the burl came from his backyard. And he came back to me in a month and a half. I did a CA finish on it. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. He comes back in a month and a half, looks like it never had any finish on it. It had turned gray and dingy. Something about his body chemistry ate that CA like nobody's business. I took the pen apart, I refinished it, dipped it in lacquer, gave it back to him. Today it looks pretty much like it did the day I sold it to him. And that was 20 years ago.
Have you tried the new branded product
The new Deft, the Prolux, I have not, but I've heard that everybody that has isn't happy with it. PPG bought out Deft last year. PPG bought them out. And they say that their lacquer is still the same original Deft formula. It's just being sold under the PPG title of Prolux, Proluxe. I've been told by several people that have tried it, it is not the same formula, and it's not as good. So I'll be looking for another lacquer product. You can go with Watco. It's not bad, but I don't like it as much as I do Deft. Yes, sir.
So when you do the dipping and 4 times, it doesn't impact the interior of the...
No, because it's sealed. You got nuts on each end, and you've got bushings on each piece, and it doesn't do anything except the lacquer runs smoothly off. If you've ever sprayed anything hanging up with lacquer or spray paint, you'll get this little lip down at the bottom. Well, putting that bushing there gives that somewhere to go, so it doesn't build that lip up at the bottom. It just runs off. So if anything, it's going to build up at the bottom of your bushing or over the nut, and that's no big deal. And if the nuts get too coated or the bushings get too coated with lacquer, Drop them in a bowl of lacquer thinner. Takes it right off. Now you're back in business. See, I'm just full of useless information.
Do you finish sand between your layers? Between your coats?
I'm lazy. It's a good question. And the reason that I don't is because... Oh, I'm sorry. The question was, do I sand between coats when I'm dipping? And the answer is no, I don't. And the reason I don't is because, and also one of the reasons lacquer is one of my favorite finishes, is because it's self-healing. Yes, especially deft. It's self-healing. What's that mean? That means each coat of lacquer melts part of the coat below it so that it smooths itself out. So deft is, especially deft, it's a self-healing lacquer. Any good lacquer will be, and you just really don't need to. Even when I'm using spray cans, when I'm using spray lacquer, I don't sand between coats if I'm using lacquer. Now, if I'm using water-based poly or even regular poly or enamel, clear enamel, like the Rust-Oleum 2X Ultra, I'll sand very lightly with like nothing more gritty than 320, if not 400, because I take my finishes to 600 to start with, most of the time. And I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have when you have them. Now, I don't know if y'all noticed, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time sanding this. You don't need to. I can't remember the name of the turner. This looks like Paducah. I can't remember the name of the turner I was watching here a while back. And he said, sanding it longer doesn't make it smoother. It only makes it smaller. This is true. You do the bulk of your sanding, and if you noticed, I did the bulk of my sanding at 120. You do the bulk of your sanding at your smallest or your coarsest grit. And then everything from there on, all you're doing is getting the scratches from that grit before it out. And at the end, you go with the grain. And this Paducah has stained my pecan a little bit. I think it's pecan. It will. I didn't get all my scratches out. I hate sanding scratches. I tell you what, I turned a ash juniper salad bowl about that big several years ago. And I don't know, it was mountain cedar, you know, ash juniper. I don't know how many of you have ever turned that stuff. It's really brittle. But typically, it sands and finishes beautifully. I couldn't get sanding scratches out of it. Didn't matter what I did. Inertia sander, powered sander, hand sanding. I could not get all the sanding scratches out of it. I finished it 3 times. I finally got mad and threw it in my burn pit. Beautiful bowl, other than the sanding scratches. Well, I didn't think of that. I was already mad by that point. What am I doing? It is a mystery. I'm losing my mind is what I'm doing. All right, I need A piece of paper towel. I do. I do like the way this grain lines up. We have any denatured alcohol over here? Mineral spirits, denatured alcohol fuel. Ha ha. Ha ha. This may get some of that staining out. It might not. It's possible. If I had compressed air, I'd just... Yeah, I'm a blowhard, but I'm not that...
You said compressed air, not hot.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy, what about the compressor right here?
Ha-ha! It don't have any air in it, and I don't want to make noise. Let's see if I can mess this up. I'll use my Texican Express card. I don't leave home without it. Hey, there's still color differentiation, so we'll still have the same effect. It does. All right. You know, this isn't just denatured alcohol anymore. Because it's sold as fuel, they've got another additive in it. So when I make shellac, I don't use DNA. I use the cheapest wood grain alcohol I can buy. Now it's food safe. So think about that. Now, again, I don't typically use, we'll see if we can not spill this time. I don't typically use friction polish on my pens anymore. I did a long time ago. Just because, well, that's what everybody else did. Friction polish is nice and it's pretty, but it doesn't wear well. Those of you that have been around IAP very long may know or remember the name Russ Fairfield. He was a king of finishes. He always makes his own. And he makes a lacquer based instead of polyurethane based friction polish, or did. We lost Russ several years ago. He also doesn't use paper towels, or didn't. No paper to do these burn finishes. Thing about friction polish, friction is the key. That's why a lot of woods don't like a friction polish, because a lot of woods are very, very heat sensitive, like gaboon ebony, pink ivory, snake wood. Russ only used velour towel. And that's pretty much what I use, or a cotton sock. I figure if it's good enough for Russ, it's good enough for me. There's a lot of people that preach, never bring any cloth to the lathe. Okay. Now, I can understand that if I'm wrapping it around my fingers. But if I'm simply holding it between my fingers, the worst thing that's going to happen is that wax is going to grab onto that t-shirt and take it out of my hands. Yes, it may go flop, 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 flop a little bit before I can hit the stop button. But it's not flinging me a piece of wood or a piece of steel. It's just a piece of cotton cloth. And it's not that big, so it's not going to be that dangerous. Now, that's just the fat boy talking. It's whatever y'all have. Yes. Come here, you. Loosen, then pull, stupid. No. I was thinking, do I want burn lines? Not in that one. The key to friction polishes is to polish it until you cannot just, if you have too much material between your finger and the wood that you're polishing, it's going to take longer to feel the heat. But if you don't have that much, you basically run it until you just can't stand the heat any longer. And then let them sit for a while. Now, another good thing to do on pens, if you're using any finish really, is Renaissance wax. Renaissance wax is used in museums to keep fingerprints off of multi-million-dollar pieces. And it works great. It's not cheap. It does. Get up here and shut up. Yeah, I've got a can that I bought over 20 years ago. Still has that much left in it, and it's a little bitty tin. Yeah, Renaissance wax. It is a microcrystalline wax, yes. Okay, now I noticed before I started on this one that these, like those others that I did, hadn't been taken all the way down to the brass, but I selected the top one because it's closest. Thank you, kind sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar, and I promise I won't spread that around. Aha, don't you do that to me. Sometimes the plating on these things, depending on where you get it, it just doesn't quite want to fit right. Okay, stay on there then. All right, where do I want? I don't have any defects. Which is pretty unusual for me. All right, there will do, I guess. Now, I don't have one of these fancy, yeah, that'll work. I don't have one of these fancy pen presses. See, I didn't monkey at that time. I didn't go all gorilla on it. I don't have one of these fancy pen presses. I took I glued 2 pieces of corian together, drilled one out to slip over here, drilled the other one out to slip over my spindle, and I just used my lathe as my pen press. And it's a perfect use for my old 10-inch Delta. I got a 10-inch Delta with a bed extension on it. I don't use it hardly for anything else anymore.
Do you think corian would become a good bushing for the dipping of the?
Yes, I've used corian for bushings for dipping. If you've got a source for corian scrap, it's excellent material.
Throw more away every use. Make dominoes out of it.
Brandon?
I've done some segmented turnings with corian. I've taken red, white, and blue corian and cut it and turned pins out of it. Corian, you can heat it up and twist it. And I took a layer, the corian's about a 1/2 inch thick. So I took a piece of white and a piece of red and a piece of blue, and I heated them up and I twisted it and then glued them together. I twisted them together, and then I used thin CA and it wicked down in and glued them together. And I turned a pin out of that. It's absolutely stunning.
How do you melt it? Like what,
Pardon?
how do you, yeah.
I just put it in an oven on a rack. I didn't tell my wife. It would, but it'd be harder to keep the heat consistent or along the blank.
It's interesting you say that because I was told that you can have a corian countertop and put
A hot pan on it?
yeah.
They lied. Well, you can put a hot pan on it as long as it's not 250 degrees. All right, let me. Close. Take it down to there's a line, a little indention in these. I don't know if y'all have ever noticed, but in the Slimlines, there's a little indention up here. And if you first press it in right up to that indention and then test it and see what you get. And if, like this case, it needed just a little bit more, so I finished pushing the indention in. And now that's about perfect. All right, get my grain lined up.
You line up your grain open or closed?
I line my grain up closed. Or in this case, I haven't lined it up at all.
Either or, right? Look inside.
I didn't make my marks. I'm a failure. I didn't mark it because I didn't make the blank. Okay, anyway, there's his one modified Slimline. Now, we'll do another one a little bit different. A while ago when I was, never mind, it's not where I wanted to go. All right, which end do I want where? This is obviously the cap.
What is the diameter of the hole for this, the little band that you made? Is it also 7?
Quarter inch.
It's a quarter inch, not 7.
Quarter inch. You want it the same diameter as the bush, as the mandrel, because it'll go over the insert.
Yeah.
You don't, cause you cut it the same as the, as
You
the
use
brass.
7 millimeter.
It's sloppy.
I would have swore I put that up here. All 3 of them?
Did you put 2 in the center?
I thought I had 2 in this. No, I didn't have any in the center.
You didn't have any in the center last time.
Dumbass.
I've been called worse.
Sometimes, my rememberer don't always work real well, but my forgetter is flawless. It's amazing how that works. Okay, for the first one that we passed around that had the little mushroom going on up top, because of the barrel trim, this one's going to be turned to that style. And I've had people ask me, well, how do I know how far down to go? And the easy thing, when I first started doing this all those years ago, I found a washer with a 1/4 inch hole in it that was about 3/8 inches in diameter.
Top down.
This one. And I found another one with a 1/4 inch hole in it that was about a 1/2 inch in diameter. And I thought, that looks like a pretty good difference. And so that's what I would do. I would put this over here on next to this bushing, and I would put this one over here next to this bushing, or if I was doing it between centers, I'd put it in their appropriate place, and I would turn to the washer instead of to the bushing. Well, I don't need to do that anymore. I've done enough of these. Now I just take it till it looks good. And again, the proper tool. Don't fuss at me. Or this proper tool. Most of y'all know Sean from Worth the Effort. Here a while back I was using a skew on a project in one of my videos, and I was using primarily tip down, not toe down, tip down. And he said, I noticed you use your skew tip down all the time. Why is that? And I said, I switch back and forth. It just depends on what I'm after. So this cuts just as well either direction. Now is when I got to start getting a little bit choicey. I'm gently taking this down because I do not want to blow a piece out of it. So I'm taking very light cuts. Get my insurance tool. And yes, that's I am. Thank Billy. I'm presenting this at a low angle of attack because it is not a negative rake scraper. Este? It's just a round nose scraper. It's 5/8 inch round nose scraper. Leave my Harbor Freight tools alone. The first set of high-speed steel tools I bought was the deluxe set back then that Harbor Freight sold. The deluxe set today has a dark-colored handle. Back then, it was the blonde. And that's what this is as well. But I have rounded the edges. I rounded the top a little bit. I rounded the bottom a lot. And if you notice from how I've ground it, this is Alan Lacer's skew. So I ground this one. After watching one of his demonstrations at SWAT several years ago, first thing I did when I got home was I went out and I grabbed my 1-inch skew and I reground it. And I forced myself to learn to use a skew when I was turning pins because it's 1, faster, 2, more accurate, 3, if it's sharp, you get a pristine finish that needs little to no sanding, especially depending on the species of wood you're working with. All right, so that looks close to being a 1/2 inch to me. So we'll take this one down a little bit. That'll work. Round this off just a little so that you don't have a that's where I was after. So you don't have a great difference. The bottom of the round part of this should be about the same as your upper lip there. Never adjust your tool rest with the lathe running. Shh. On big pieces like bowls and stuff, I absolutely agree. Oops. I fat skewed it. You know, like fat finger in the keyboard? I fat skewed it. Good skew work, Billy. It's horrible. Better. Maybe. I don't know what this is either, but it looks like macadamia. Now we'll see if we got this sharp enough. There's a couple of different ways to burn lines. You can get Formica samples from Lowe's or Home Depot, and they're free, and you can burn with those. They work great. You can cut a wedge on a piece of wood. Like that. That was just a piece of pine. Yeah. You can also use these. I have some of these in different sizes that I use at home. I prefer to use wood if and when I can. Now, you don't want to round this side off. You want it nice and crisp. Just like Captain Crunch. Until you put milk on it. Again, I started at 120. No, I lied. 220. It depends on the finish that I'm left with when I get done. If I've done my job as a wood turner, I can start at 120, 180. Oh, what do I finish at? At home, pins, because I'm dipping them, probably 400. Bowls, 600. Vases, 600. Spindles, 600. Remember, with the grain last. Sometimes the fat boy forgets this step. No, I don't know why I started it that way with that blank and going back this way with this one, just in case you're asking. I have no idea. Now, for those that don't know, if you have a brown paper bag or some of that brown shipping paper they send you, that's basically the equivalent of 400 grit. You can burnish with that, and it works very nice. Boy, that didn't take long at all. Y'all need to hire a better demonstrator. I'll accept that. Pay for what you get or get what you pay for. If I had them all glued up and ready to go, $30.
In an hour?
Yeah,
2 minutes for each pin.
yeah.
Wow.
Maybe 35.
Yeah, no, you just got pin blanks, and you just, turn it.
Yeah, I've already cut them and glued them in.
That's what takes the longest time.
It is. I've already cut them and glued them. Just putting them on the lathe. Can zip turn, zip turn, zip turn. Rough finish. Get them ready for the lacquer. Yeah, 3 minutes a pin.
That's with the sanding and everything?
5 if I take my time.
How come your demo took over an hour?
Because I can't shut my mouth, Brenda. That's why
10 different types already.
I can't. Because I can't shut up. I'm a retired educator and I just can't help myself. These people brought you in here so you could talk. No, they didn't. They brought you in here so you could show them how to do this. Now shut up. That wood is so pretty. There's another wood that looks like this. It's not. It's too dark for lace wood, and lace wood and leopard wood will have this look. It's not dense enough for leopard wood, and it's too dark for lace wood. I've had some people tell me, well, leopard wood and lace wood are the same thing. No, they are not. Two completely different species. If you don't believe me, look it up. And lace wood will weigh less than half of what leopard wood does. Lace wood is softer and it's a whole lot lighter. On the contrast, leopard wood is a whole lot more dense and a whole lot stronger. Crap. I'm trying to remember what that other wood is that looks like macadamia. It's a coastal wood from the Pacific. No, it's not koa.
That cold is like it's long and steep.
I'll think of it while I'm asleep. Yeah. Faux show. No. No.
Turning.
Wood that looks like macadamia. We already said those two, it ain't that. But silky oak. But that's not it either.
That's a.
There's another. It's a fruit wood or a nut wood, and I don't remember what it is. I don't remember. Is it cashew?
It says more about the pin than the wood. It's very similar to the one you made me actually. The one that the other one.
It does. No, it's not Bacote. Nope.
Google's failing.
Well, it's pretty, whatever it is. Rubber tree looks very similar to it, except it doesn't get that. You don't get the fleck in rubber tree that you get in this. Once the rubber tree that is, quits producing rubber, they cut them down, mill them into lumber, and most of the furniture that you see coming in from Asia, China, Asia, is rubber tree. The top of one of my toolboxes that I got from Home Depot is made from rubber tree. It's really pretty wood. It is a hardwood. I think I want the fleck on the sides. That's what I think. Perfect. Perfect. Put you over there, I don't want to lose you. Another thing, when you're putting these in, this is for the new people. You old timers know how to do this already. But when you're pressing your pieces in, make sure that you're aligned in parallel. If you're off a little bit and you start pushing, you can split the tube and split the wood. Don't ask me how I know that. Yes, exactly. And on some pins, it's easier to do than others. By easier to do, I mean easier to get messed up. Huh? Mm-mm. No, it's a common name. Everybody's going to know. I think. All right, the tricky part to lining these up for the fleck is the fleck has a tendency to go one direction sometimes. Well, you'll see the pattern when you turn it. What I'm talking about, fleck. Okay. It's another modified Slimline. This is more in the European style. The difference being it doesn't have a separate gold center band and it doesn't have a rounded cap where the clip is. Yeah, but it doesn't have. If you've turned any Europeans, especially, and they're like Penn State designer pins, where you have to cut that tenon, and I mean, you have to do something like that with a Berea Perfect Fit too, but it's easier because you just take it down to the tube, and you make your measurement and you cut it down to the tube, you're done, and because that's where the center band presses onto, but. Any questions? Ah, shucks, torrent nothing.